discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And I believe we have a couple of amendments.
Yes, an item, add to item 10.8, report from Nation Rise Wind Farm. And add item 13.7, resolution to approve an agreement for fiber optic with the United Counties of SDNG. This isn't an addition or a change, it's just to announce that for the public meeting tonight, the same report was circulated twice. There's two different applications. So the report for the other application, Carly has a copy. So when we're in the public meeting, we will show it on the screen.
So can I have a mover, please, for these additions? Deputy Mayor Landry. Seconder. Councilor Benjamin. Any discussion? Councilor Villeneuve.
I have a concern about section 19, closed section 19.1 specifically. It's been past practice of ours not to disclose the names of individuals going into closed session. So my concern is that it's disclosed, the name of an identifiable person is here. And my concern is that we're violating the municipal act in disclosing the name of that person.
Well, normally, if you're discussing something in closed session, it could be any number of things, first of all. And secondly, if council has to act on anything that's discussed in closed session, the details have to be there because you could be discussing more than one thing. So because you're discussing more than one thing, when you're passing the resolution, the staff need to know what the resolution is being passed about. So that's the issue that we have. And in this case, it is the issue because more than one thing will be discussed in closed session.
But the municipal act has it that we don't disclose names. The past practice we have is there's never been any detail with closed session items. Specifically on this instance, the name is being disclosed. So my concern again reflects the fact that we are in violation, or we possibly are in violation of the municipal act by exposing this individual's name.
Well, can I suggest that we verify that and move on for now? I mean, you can't change anything that's happened here at the moment, but you can have staff find out whether or not that's actually the case. I don't know that it makes a lot of difference, to be honest, but we can verify it.
But then if it's wrong and we violated the act, this meeting is null and void. Yes, it is.
Well,
I'm asking for a recorded vote, Mr. Mayor, because I think this is wrong.
you want to record a vote on the agenda?
Please.
That's just the changes. So
Okay, so we'll
we'll
pass
vote
this
on the
first.
changes.
We'll vote on the amendment, and then I'll go back to the original amended agenda, and we can have a recorded vote there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the vote now pertains to 10.8, the Nation Rise report, and the fiber optic issue. So all those in favor of the agenda as amended?
Just
Sorry,
amendments.
just the amendments. Carried. Now we'll vote as to whether or not the amended agenda can be adopted. And we'll have a recorded vote on this, so Councillor Densham.
Can we go, do we have a move?
Oh, sorry. Moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Deputy Mayor Landry.
Well, we've got to have a recorded vote, so now I'll just call the vote.
Can we, does it go to discussion first before we vote?
You can if you wish.
Okay, so, like I'm not aware, so this is written or as I see it, so I'm not aware of what the, so from what I'm seeing here, we're accepting a resignation letter from the Fire Chief Gobin.
That's what's gonna be discussed in closed session, yes.
Okay, so what we're saying, so we're not disclosing anything aside from right now, we're accepting, so he has handed in his resignation letter.
We kind of let her, yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Yeah, Councilor Nash.
I know you can't unring a bell, but I'm wondering whether or not we should redact the name for now. I know it's kind of too late off of the official agenda, but still inquire about this for future. So can we take the name off for this
So-
agenda? And
We'll have to bring back our amendments, and for the third amendment on the agenda,
reality is, this is supplemental reality is, I don't know either, and I think until we do know, it's best to take precautionary path.
You guys just, if you're okay with the unanimous for that, just initial it, please.
Councilor Denson.
Okay, so this item now pertains 3 amendments: the report from Nation Rise, the resolution regarding the fiber optic, and we redact the name of an individual and remove, from Article 19.1. So, all those in favor?
Discussion.
Sorry, discussion.
All right, procedurally, where are we? So the first 2 reports came from, with the regarding nationwide. So then, any councillor at any time can insert another amendment to the agenda
yes.
in practice?
Yes, you can, yeah. As a point of order, you can. I mean, you can't amend everything, all along. But this is a point of order that was brought up, it was accepted by the chair. And so, we can bring it back. Normally, you would pass another resolution, but I think it's simpler to just bring back the other resolution and ask the movers and the seconders to accept the changes. So,
And we've got a huge night ahead of us, so I'd like to move here if we could, so. Okay, so all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, let's get the hands up again. All those in favor of the amended motion to redact? I'll see the 2 items.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, when you're doing a recorded vote, you have to name the person.
This isn't the recorded vote, this is the amendment.
this is just a show of hands right now.
So, all those in favor again of the 3 amendments that we have on the agenda?
Okay.
Okay, what was it?
So 1, opposed. 2, okay, I'm opposed as well.
It's already on there.
I abstain.
That's a no vote.
So what does that take us now?
So that takes us to a recorded vote on the amendments.
Okay.
So Councillor Denson, 4.
Yes.
Councillor Douglas,
Is this the same
this is the same one, we have to have a
with,
recorded.
where we just did our hands, okay?
Yes, so it's an A.
Against.
Councillor Villeneuve,
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Longbody,
4.
Deputy Mayor Wirt,
4.
or sorry, Mayor Wirt.
Okay. We'll let Frank run this in a minute.
So the report the resolution carries 3-2 vote.
Sign.
So here's the adoption of the agenda.
Okay. So we now have Councillor Douglas has moved this and Deputy Mayor Laundrie has seconded that it be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as amended.
I don't know, do you want to record a vote, Roxanne?
Yes, please.
Councillor Densham?
Yes.
Councillor Douglas?
Yes.
Councillor Villeneuve?
Abstain?
Deputy Mayor Landry?
Yes.
Mayor Ward?
Yes.
The vote carries 4-1.
Council? Sorry. Okay, any disclosure of pecuniary? Seeing none. Be it resolved that this public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment for 33 Nevada Street and 16245 County Road 9 be open. Can I have a mover? Councilor Densham, and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Laundrie. Mr. Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I may ask Carly to bring up that first report. So this was the report that was added to the agenda because the duplicate of the 33 Nevada report was originally on the package. You wanted to just skip down to the two maps that will perhaps help everybody. Thank you, Carly. So we're dealing with two properties that have been, two separate properties in the municipality that zoning amendments have been applied for by the same applicant, Mr. Peter Blair. I'm not sure if the applicant is here this evening. Thank you, Mr. Blair. I only point that out just in case there are any specific questions that council may have that you may be able to assist in answering. The first rezoning would apply to 16245 County Road 9, which is located in the rural agricultural area just west of Moose Creek. So we can see an outline of the property on the screen right now. The property is currently zoned, and this is I'm hoping it's not going to be too weird or confusing, but it's currently zoned mineral aggregate pit, and there is a existing extractive license on the property. You can see that there is some reclaimed extractive area there, and some active extraction area, which is highlighted in the purple at the back. Otherwise, the property is actually used for agricultural purposes, and it contains a single detached dwelling and associated accessory buildings. You can see the dwelling and the line pointing to a little red dot. Cardi, if you could go to the second image there. This is just a bit of a close-up of the dwelling and the associated accessory building, which is just a garage, a shop located next door to it. The applicants are seeking to add a use to the list of already permitted uses of the zone, and that would be to permit a boarding, lodging, and rooming house at that location. The reason the applicants are seeking to add this use to the property would be to allow the dwelling to be used to house foreign workers. So workers that work as a part of the Blair agricultural operation that are not residents of the community and are brought in as a part of a program to assist with employment as a part of the operation.
It's actually for Manderley Turf.
Pardon me, for Manderley Turf. So these individuals do come from outside the community. They do need accommodation. It was brought to the attention of the township that a zoning change would be needed to facilitate the property to be used by individuals who are not what we call one housekeeping unit. And because it's a single detached dwelling, the zoning would need to be changed to add the boarding and rooming house to the property. So it will allow these unrelated individuals to occupy the dwelling. By permitting the zoning, I should take a step back. So under the official plan and under provincial policy, we're required as municipalities to provide a range of housing opportunities to support different segments of the population, socioeconomic segments of the population. In this case, permitting a boarding house on the property, it's our opinion or staff's opinion that this would comply with the official plan and also with provincial policy by permitting a different range of housing types and housing types that are needed and different accommodation types that are needed in the municipality for employees that work in the municipality. The existing uses of the property would remain should the zoning bylaw be passed, so the existing zoning would stay. It would just be the addition of a boarding house, boarding, lodging, and rooming house would be permitted on the property. In addition to compliance with the zoning bylaw, Manderley Turf and Mr. Blair would be required to comply with all the requirements of the Ontario Building Code, the fire code, as well as inspection by the health unit who do conduct inspections of boarding and rooming houses. Again, given our analysis of provincial and county policy, it's our opinion that it is appropriate use at this location, and it does meet the policy requirements. So the recommendation that we do have before council tonight is for an approval. Do you want me to go on to the second one? Yeah, okay, sure. So, Carly, I'll let you get to that second report. And while Carly's bringing up the second map in front of council, not to kind of go through the whole spiel again, but what we're dealing with is the very same situation, that this is the same applicant, and this is another home that's located, in this time, in Moose Creek at 33 Nevada Street. We can see the property, it's highlighted in black. I'm hoping people can see the 30, thank you, Carly. That's the location of the property. This is a half-acre property that's located in the urban settlement area of Moose Creek, similar to the location on County Road 9. This would be adding, it's currently zoned R1 and in a residential district. This would be adding a boarding, lodging, and rooming house use to the list of already permitted uses on the property. Again, this would be to house workers that are utilized by Manderley Turf that are not located in the municipality. The same policy analysis was conducted in terms of provincial policy and county policy, which again encourage a range of housing types to meet all socioeconomic segments of the population. This in particular, we are a service property that's located within the urban settlement area, so certainly there's nothing in the policies that would prohibit the locating of a boarding, rooming, and lodging house located at this location. Again, because it complies, in our opinion, with provincial and county policy, the recommendation that we have before council tonight is for an approval. Like the location on County Road 9, this will also be subject to the requirements of the Building Code Act, the Fire Code, and regular inspection by the health unit.
Okay, thank you. We'll get the motion started, and then if there's questions for Paul, we'll deal with them then. So the motion reads, be it resolved that council hereby approves the planning reports for zoning amendments for 33 Nevada Street and 16245 County Road 9 as submitted by the municipal planner. Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Douglas, and a seconder. Councilor Denchin. Discussion. Councilor Millen.
Are these new dwellings that are being built, or are they existing ones?
They're existing dwellings on the property. So it's my understanding from speaking to Chief Building Official Brisson that they will be subject to some renovations and some requirements to bring them up to code for the type of occupancy that would occur in the buildings. But it's my understanding that no additions are being sought to enlarge the buildings. They're existing buildings that would be subject to some interior renovation.
Deputy Mayor Leonard.
So with respect to even as far as or as close as today, was there anybody that came forward with any concerns with that?
So at the time of the writing of the reports that we submitted for council, the circulation was conducted as required by the Planning Act to neighboring property owners. We were not advised of any concerns or calls were received from the public regarding the two amendments.
Councilor Douglas, comment. Councilor Denchin.
how often do we do this already? Like, have we already got, and how prevalent is this type of zoning exception in North Stormont?
So in the, and I'll say in the short, in the short time that I've been with the municipality, this is the first time that we've gone through this type of amendment. It's not to say that these types of uses don't exist. I can speak kind of generally about boarding and rooming houses, whether in North Stormont or any municipality across Ontario, is they tend to be difficult uses to regulate, only because sometimes, if we're dealing with an existing house and there's no outside evidence that it's being occupied as a boarding house, they can occur in unlicensed, unregulated situations all over the case. So in this particular case, it was brought to the municipality's attention that this was occurring, and Mandaree Turf wanted to address this and to make sure that they were bringing it up to code and they were going through the normal channels of inspection, and et cetera, so that's why this was brought to our attention. It doesn't mean that that these situations may not exist elsewhere in North Stormont or in the United Counties broadly. Again, this is the first time we've run into this in my short tenure here. The other comment I would make is in reviewing some other zoning bylaw regulations in the region. It was noted, for instance, that the City of Ottawa, which contains a large rural area and a large agricultural base, as well as the Township of South Stormont, for instance, they already permit boarding and lodging houses as of right in the agricultural and rural zones. So in many cases, like in the rural area and agricultural area of Ottawa or South Stormont, they could simply be going through they're already permitted, and they could be going through their normal health unit inspection and regular fire code and OBC inspections.
Just one last supplemental. Does any of this study include or talk to the number of people who could board in there and things such as parking and number of vehicles? Was that addressed?
So with the number of vehicles, certainly at both locations under the zoning bylaw, there's the existing parking arrangements meet the minimum requirements for parking for the boarding and lodging houses. In practice, because these are workers that are coming from outside the community and often outside the province or outside the country, typically, in my experience in some of my other municipalities that I've worked in, there's typically not a large, single-use vehicle population in front of these buildings. But we did review the parking requirements. All of that was met. I may have missed the second part of that question, though. I believe that was that a two-part question?
Well, it was the number of people who could board and
Yes, so the number of people that can board. That is not regulated under the zoning bylaw. It is regulated under the building code, the fire code, and through the health unit inspections.
Any further questions? All those in
Mr.
favor?
Mayor,
Sorry.
can we ask the owner a couple of questions, or is that for the end?
That's fine. Sure.
I'm just curious to, how many are you hiring and where are they predominantly coming from?
The guys come from Mexico, and we've had these guys for previous years, but this year we'll have about 16 guys, possibly 18 guys. So the 10 in the 16 245 house and 8 in the other. And the health unit is what decides how many people were allowed based off surface area, cooking appliances, everything like that, bathrooms.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we now have to close the zoning meeting, so be it resolved that this public zoning meeting be closed. Can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Andre, seconder. Councilor Bencham. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. We don't have any delegations, so mayor's and councilors' message. Hearing none, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Our plan is to typically use as quickly as we can. So adoption of minutes at the previous meeting, excuse me, be it resolved that the following minutes be approved as presented at the regular meeting on February 11th, 2020 and the special budget meeting on March 5th, 2020. Can I have a mover? Douglas. And Deputy Mayor Wandry to second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Sorry. Next, be it resolved, the council receives the report from the South Nation Conservation regarding proposed upgrades to the McIntosh Park in Berwick. I have a mover. Councilor Benjamin, seconder. Deputy Mayor Wandry. Discussion? Fairly straightforward. All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the council acknowledges receipt of the notification from LAS, which is our hydro provider, regarding inflationary increases in electricity costs. A mover, please. Councilor Douglas. And seconder. Deputy Mayor Wandry. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the council approves the minutes from the Raisin River Conservation Board dated February 20th, 2020. Move it, please. Councilor Densham. Seconder. Councilor Douglas. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council approves the minutes from the Board of Morningside Place dated January 2020. Mover. Deputy Mayor Wandry. Seconder. Councilor Douglas. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the council approves the draft accountability and transparency policy as presented and hereby authorize that a bylaw be presented on the March 24th council meeting for ratification. I have a mover, please. Councilor Davis. And a seconder. Councilor Bencham. Discussion. Councilor Bill.
So thank you for putting this back on the agenda. I had been requesting it since its first appearance back on September 25th, and it was deferred. And this is the first time that it's returned back on the agenda. So it went from 4 pages down to 2 pages from the initial presentation in September. However, back in September, I said the proposal was missing some meat. And it's still missing a lot of meat, and I'm glad that we have time to discuss it before ratification on the 24th of March. It's very generalized as far as accountability and transparency goes as it stands, the way that it's presented. I'd like to see 3 components added to the transparency and accountability bylaw. Number 1 being that council moves and council only goes forward with bylaws and motions, through bylaws and motions. So in other words, council speak only through bylaws and motions. So for example, whenever we moved for a certain subject item to be, it was adopted that we move forward with continuing through mediation as opposed to an investigation. It was never brought back to council for decision. So council speak in motions and bylaws. So I want to see that added to the transparency and accountability bylaw. I also want to see live streaming for those that, for example, snowbirds, when they go away to Florida or south for the winter, that we live stream our public council meetings so that those that are unable to physically be here that they can certainly view our council meetings online. So I'd like to see that as transparency and accountability. There's no better way to have it than to have it open on live streaming. Even for those that are living in the township, that they can't make it here, they can watch it live stream. And third, I'd like to see an open and transparent budget process as far as public consultation goes. So for example, I believe that toward the end of the year, before the budget is actually drafted, that public get a chance to present to us as council members. For example, it could be the hospital in Winchester that are seeking some money. It could be an organization or a community group that's looking for money, that they come to us before budget and make that delegation request. So I'd like to see that as open and transparent in our accounting and transparency bylaw. So those are my 3 requests that I'd like to see added.
So what I'd like to propose is that we'll have staff report back on the 24th and decide as to whether or not we're going to incorporate these into the policy. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. Any other discussion pertaining to this area?
Well, I just wondered if Mary or Craig have any comments on Councilor Zona's request?
Well, the only acting through bylaws and motions is already in the municipal act. It's, you know, this policy does state that we follow the municipal act. So rather than repeat all the wording in an act, you commit to following that act. So in committing to following that act, you're committing to acting through bylaws and motions. So that's something that's, you know, live streaming is something that's beyond the scope right now. But we, you know, we did talk about it, so it's something that council, I think, is willing to do. Budget process needs more consultation. That's that's a council decision, and it's not in any act, you know. It does say that the budget process has to be public, which we do, but that's something that council has to decide if they want to go further than what we have already been doing.
Can I just add to that, Mr. Mayor? The way that it's drafted here is just pulling things from the municipal act. So it's not specific to the Township of North Stormont and being accountable and transparent to our taxpayers. So what I'm trying to say is I'd like to see more of that detail within our transparency and accountability bylaw, specific for us. That's what my request is.
Just remind council that it may be specific to North Stormont, but it has to also follow the legislation.
So, as I said, I'd like council to report back on this, and hopefully we can wrap it all up on the 24th, okay? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Be it resolved that council accepts and approves the 2019 report on council remuneration. Moved by Councilor Benjamin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laundrie.
Charlie, you had a comment on that?
Yeah, there's been an adjustment to the conference expenses. So where you see under Deputy Mayor Laundrie, the $550.26, that is now zero. That was missed, it was, and it has been invoiced to the counties. So new total is $119,573.29.
Councilor Bonnet?
Yeah, I have a question on the OMERS. I can't recall whenever we were first elected if we were offered that, and I just can't remember. Can we join at any given time if we want to?
As I understand, it's the mayor, sorry to the chair, it's the mayor and the deputy mayor that, can apply for the.
I think the council can too.
Yeah. I can look into it.
Okay, please, thanks.
Deputy Mayor Landry?
Looking, I'm just following on with old council used to be when I first joined. I didn't know that we had the opportunity. I believe it was the same scenario that we're seeing here with, and I'm not sure what the intent or why one, not the other there, but that would be something that you should look into.
So just as a further explanation, you'll see in the budget that these figures are up dramatically from last year. The tax change allowed, I believe, 1/3 of our income to be not subject to tax. So the increase was net zero, but that difference represents what we now give the federal government. So in case aspiring politicians think they're going to get infinitely rich, don't give them too much of a rush. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council approves the February 2020 invoice listing as presented. I have a mover. Councilor Douglas. Seconder. Deputy Mayor Landry. Discussion.
Anybody notice it was upside down?
Yes, still is.
I did that once and council did this to me. So
Okay, all those in favor then, please? Carried. Be it resolved that council receives the treasurer's monthly report for February 2020. Move it, please. Councilor Densham, seconder. Councilor Douglas. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. That council receives report number PW006 2020 concerning the request from Wanamaker Farms for Hackwood exemption for information purposes. And as everyone has seen in their correspondence, this has been withdrawn. So this is a formality. Can I have a mover? Deputy Mayor Landry, seconder. Councilor Douglas. All those in favor? Sorry, discussion. Councilor Dolan.
So, if there's further companies that wish to have this request, does that mean our bylaw, as drafted, for future requests like this, our bylaw has been approved, right? Okay. So that just means that any more requests that come in have to follow this bylaw.
My understanding. And that's the challenge with this entire situation, is to be consistent, because the regs obviously are highly different. So, is any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That council receives report number PW005 2020 for information purposes and directs staff to schedule a discussion with D Squared Aggregates before any decision or recommendation or feedback from council are sent to the RF. So this is the ask for the increase in tonnage of the new quarry. Can I have a mover? Mr. Douglas and a seconder. Councilor Donat, discussion. Randy?
there was a lot of great input from the public, and so that was organized by Blake and Elliott, so well done. So there was a lot of very caring comments and concerns, so what, have they all been read, and like they're in our package, but as far as what we're doing with and our interaction with D squared and our process.
Well, our
report.
interaction with D squared is just that, you know, we're sort of a go-between.
Sure.
The Ministry of Natural Resources is actually the licensing agency when it comes to quarries. But they lean heavily on the municipality's comments. So, you know, and if it looked like we had serious concerns, you know, and the public are having concerns, obviously, they're going to take those seriously. But they're not going to tell us what they're doing until they actually make a decision. So that's kind of all that the municipality.
So our role is gathering the messages and
Correct.
forwarding them.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Landry.
So with regards to the public's input, so now we've read through and water is an issue, or roads, so as far as the township is concerned now, so with regards to the roads department dealing with how you want to look at our roads being traveled and the routes they're going to take, and also have the other two, like Aqua and say South Nation in regards to the source water protection, because we do have one, I'm saying the water tanks there, I'm not sure where the wells are in respect to Moose Creek, but to protect our township water in Moose Creek, have that in.
Are they close to?
No, over a kilometer away.
Over a
Well,
kilometer.
But basically in this report, what, talking with the ministry, is we have the concerns, we'd like to get council's, like, direction on what their concerns would be. This is our time that we could actually, look into the situation and make, conditions that they may be acceptable to them, that will kind of leave some of the concerns. Like, example would be a major concern, and I know no one in the public likes to have trucks hauling down their road, but they have to get away from the quarry. And the ministry, like we said before, was the ministry can approve these ways is going to look at all the concerns and try to resolve the concerns. And if they resolve the concerns to the ministry, and we don't take any action beforehand to say our concerns and the public's, they could get approved without any comment from us. But we also want to, because we already, at the beginning of the process, stated some concern to the ministry. So they're working on those concerns also, as in to solve them. So what we're looking at here, the best case scenario would be is have council opinion, maybe a couple reps from council to sit with D squared to go over some of the concerns, to look at what's their proposal in place of a haul route or like their blasting or the water concerns, how they're going to resolve those concerns, so we can actually work with them and maybe negotiate with them with resolving a lot of the concerns of the public and have a benefit for the municipality in where they go and what routes they use to not have a free-for-all for truck hauling from this internal quarry in Sentinel Township.
And I may have missed it, Blake, but we had talked about a second peer review, and I believe they're doing that, right?
Yes, that kind of. So, but this is our chance to talk to them, to get the information that they're doing, and get the concerns that we have, and go then discuss with them, negotiate with them, and maybe, your recommendation from, the township, from council, would be whatever we solicit from them, or whatever our concerns would be, whatever council wishes to respond. To say, just to say, no, it's going to just go to the ministry, and they're gonna look at the concerns, what D Square did, and they're gonna make the judgment. But to be involved, and the ministry told us, like Jennifer Ty, it's your time to be involved.
So have we already submitted comments to an NR? No?
Yes,
We have.
back in, because we're back in, July? Back in July, we put concerns in, and the counties put concerns in.
So are there more since then?
Well, all this correspondence has gone to the ministry and also gone to D Square. So they're in the process now of looking at all the concerns from the public. And they haven't, they have our concerns from July, because we're a close neighboring, partner with, well, with the township, so anyway, but the recommending is to sit with them and look at the concerns and look at their proposal of how they are gonna address it, and if we have, council has more concerns or more wishes for them to study more traffic studies or whatever, this is the time that we have to engage with them.
So staff is gonna take the lead on this?
And like, we also like to have, slightly, some council involvement too, as like a subcommittee or.
Do you wanna deal with that now, or do you wanna?
Well, that's what we're asking, if you wanted to.
Councilor Douglas.
So the mayor asked about peer review segment, and you said kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, until we get, you know, they said that they're doing another hydrology study. I don't know what all you mean for the peer review on.
Well, it was the water situation,
Yeah.
I think was the concern, and we
So-
were asking for,
Well, I didn't know if you meant like the whole thing that they could be involved in, the original, application that they would requested for different.
But we as council, we could trigger
Yes.
other, if we raise concern, we could trigger other work to be done then,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
right, so then if the issues come down to like blasting, ground shaking, noise, dust, traffic, speed, and then aquifer, that kind of sums up, the main public issues.
okay. So, we've got this resolution on here, and we had nothing pertaining to the structure of the committee. Can we wait for staff's request?
Well, we have staff's request, so we can deal with it now. If it's okay with Councilor Douglas and Councilor Douglas, if we can add that to this resolution, that a committee, a subcommittee be appointed to discuss it.
Is that okay?
Sure, well, the concerns are fairly straightforward.
They are,
so-
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I'd like to sit on that committee if you're looking for volunteers.
Okay. How many do you want in the committee?
I would say 2. That's usually the, committee site. It all will come back to council, it's.
Yeah. Anybody else interested in that? Nobody's jumping up and down, I guess I'll go then. Okay, any further discussion on this D squared situation?
So, when do you want to report this to council, Blake?
When do I want to report this to council?
Well, this discussion with the subcommittee has to take place, and then you'd have to
Well, we-
report to council?
Yeah, We'll have to see where D square sits,
Yeah, so what do you want, a month, 2 months, 6 months?
a month, better make it 2, because I'm gone for.
He's leaving at the end of the month.
Okay.
With the report submitted,
If you can get on a plane.
what's the time frame? What's the time frame? I know they want to increase time, have they talked about their time frame?
There's no time frame on this kind of proposal. They're requesting an increase until ourselves and the ministry decides. So
Ministry would not move forward.
they could. The ministry could.
So,
The council
So
meeting of May would be May 26th.
so we'll go with May 26th, is that okay?
Another question, because Frank, Mayor Landry asked a good question, could the ministry move forward? And I'm wondering whether or not we should just issue a letter to the ministry to let them know we are forming a subcommittee?
Oh,
Or-
we're in correspondence with the ministry.
Okay, so you let
Yeah,
them know that we
they know
intend-
what we're doing.
So they know we intend to issue
Yeah.
some feedback in the
Yeah.
not too distant future.
Yeah.
And you've got the lead on this.
Yes.
Okay, so Councilor Jonah and myself will form a subcommittee to aid in addressing the concerns of the reports submitted by May 26th. Everybody okay with that? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. Be it resolved that council receives the arena monthly report for February of 2020. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wandry. Seconded by Councilor Dencham. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council receives the fire department monthly report for February 2020. Moved by Councilor Douglas, seconded by Councilor Dencham. Discussion. Councilor Dencham.
Yeah, I just noted noticed that on the work in progress page, the first bullet mentioned specifically that Station 4 was donated a green bin rescue kit from local farmers, and I just wanted to call that out and say congratulations to the local farmers and the station for working together. I think this is really what North Stormont's all about. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so, yep. This pertains to the addition that we put on the agenda, the amendment for Nation Rise. So be it resolved that council receives the report from Nation Rise Wind Farm dated March 9th, 2020. Moved by, okay, so take your time to read this. So, I'll read this out loud just for everybody's benefit. So this is from Ken Little, and it's to Blake. So in response, Nathan and I are both out right now. Last week I was in legal proceedings all week for the project. Our official hearing has been rescheduled for April 17th. A ruling will be issued afterwards, and we don't have an expected timeline for that, but it could be several weeks or to a couple of months following the hearing. Everything on site has been demobilized outside of security and some intercom staff completing minimum maintenance and inspections. As the 6 turbines up don't have power, they can't do full maintenance, so they can still run visual inspections and check the towers. Nothing else is expected at this time for site, so let me know if you've got any questions. I will not be available for phone for the next couple of days, but we'll have the opportunity to respond to Discussion. Councilor Dolan.
Carly, just a question for you with financing with respect to merchandise. What is the outstanding amount that they owe us as a township? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I believe the expense account shows 112,000, but that's not owed to us. We just need to do a journal entry to move, the funding over to revenues. So that's part of the 2019 journal entries. So once we move past the budget to our audit, then there's some outstanding journal entries that still need to be done in 2018.
So subject to that, they both posted a bond, or was it a draft? There's 250,000, right? That we held against these expenses.
Okay, so in layman's terms, do they owe us anything right now?
No.
They don't? Okay.
Councilor Benji.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, we know that wells was an issue that was brought up, and I was waiting to hear whether or not there would be some holistic report coming back from the ministry on their findings, because they were engaged. I don't know if there's an update on that at all. Well, I know we have the one issue for sure, and we talked about that from meeting to meeting, and I think that's great. But I think, at least from my perspective, at one point we had heard that there were up to 10 complaints that were issued, but the ministry was going to review them and see whether or not they thought any of it was tied specifically to it, and there'd be some kind of outcome or ruling. I know we can't get involved at the individual level due to privacy, but I did think that the ministry was able to sort of summarize their findings at a top level for us. And I don't know if we can go back to the ministry to see if that doesn't appear based on the reaction that it's in somebody's hands right now. So if not, can we go back to the ministry and ask them for a summary of their findings? Because
Yeah, I don't see any reason why. I think we can, so for the next meeting, like, thank you.
Yep, yeah, that's great.
Okay. Randy, did you have a question?
No.
Councilor Dolan?
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody can answer. With the road deterioration that's happening, like maybe, like, is, because the court date is April 17th, is everything just at a standstill, nothing can be done?
They can't do anything, no.
They can't,
No.
they can't fix the
If-
roads?
They have told us if we have conditions or have work to do that is associated with them, we can actually do the work and they can pay us, but that'd be negotiated beforehand with them. I think it might be a dicey situation to try to start doing major work, as the road user agreement has us being compensated for all the road use and all the road deterioration. So basically what I'm looking at is anything in safety concern that will approach them, tell them that we have concerns if it's debris in the side of the road or rubble or stones or rocks that we have to clean up. They actually agreed for us to do it last fall, but everything was froze up and by the time all this got straightened out. So maybe this spring we have to do some cleanup and stuff and charge them back. But as in the road user agreement, I think everything is just on hold until the ministry, or until the court decision comes out and see what happens, I guess.
Deputy Mayor Leonard.
So with that, like, our roads, do you anticipate, so I know just down that's County Road 9, when you get to the end there's a little bit of a shuffle there, and so the roads with the spring thaw that's coming, do you anticipate where we're gonna be in need to have a look at this, or are we gonna be able to withhold and get the findings from the hearing and move forward accordingly?
Well, our intentions, or the road department's intentions, is to document, like say the patching and stuff on their roads, and any surplus gravel, document that to say, well, you know, you're deteriorating roads, we had to do more maintenance on the roads, and look for compensation that way.
But there's absolutely nothing either in the agreement or the fact that they're shut down right now that's holding you back from doing what you need to do.
No, no.
Councilor Nolan.
But at the same time, we shouldn't be incurring all these expenses because it was the damage that they did to our roads. You know, so we're in a predicament where we shouldn't be expensing it. It should be them covering that cost.
Well, I said that they agreed to us to negotiate and propose any extra work to them with a costing of it. And then they'll discuss with us, you know, we accept that as extra maintenance and extra expenses. But right now, the winter just being over and getting into the spring, well, with the rain and stuff, it's really not the time to say we're starting to fix roads, half roads are on. So basically right now, it's just trying to maintain them.
So we've also got a significant reserve that it doesn't have to be allocated, but it's certainly there. So any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll move to bylaws. Be it resolved that bylaw number 11-2020, being the bylaw to approve council annual remuneration, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 10th day of March 2020. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wandry. Seconder? Councilor Denchik. Discussion. No discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 12-2020, being the bylaw to approve an HR policy, being read a first, second, and third time, signed, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 10th day of March 2020. Moved by Councilor Douglas, seconded by Councilor Denchik. Discussion.
If I could ask Greg, a couple things. In regards to issues for like salaried employees banking their holidays and as well performance appraisals, is the system up to where you want it to be as far as doing performance appraisal of employees and spreading out?
Through the chair, this is my first year doing the performance appraisal. It's certainly satisfactory. They've been completed, and some of them have been discussed and handed back, signed by both the CAO and the applicable employee. Some of them are still in the hands of the employees as they're reviewing and digesting the input that I've provided, but I believe the process is sound, yes.
It's a very active part of your role coordinating that. And secondly, in regards to banking holidays, like in the past we heard of places where if they didn't take their holiday annual vacation during a given year, banking. So where are we as far as on using up vacation?
I don't think that we're doing banking holidays, we're banking overtime,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
not holidays,
Okay.
okay? So they can bank overtime, but most of the time that has to be used up within the current year.
Vacation.
Correct.
Using. Okay. Perfect.
Any further questions? Councilor Denchik.
Just a comment, I did ask a couple of questions of Craig on the side about this, because I know with HR policy, and if there's changes being made, these are potentially sensitive in some instances with staff and stuff, but what he told me was that he actually worked closely with staff on the redesign of this, passing it by most of the staff throughout, which I thought was a very smart idea to work through that so that any concerns could be addressed, and so I'm really happy that he took that approach.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 13-2020 being the bylaw to approve a zoning bylaw amendment for 33 Nevada Street be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed by the open council this 10th day of March 2020. Moved by Deputy Mayor Laundrie. Seconder, Councilor Douglas. So obviously this pertains to Paul's presentation earlier this evening. Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. Oops. This is just because you think I'm not going to get back. Be it resolved that bylaw number 14-2020 being the bylaw to approve a zoning bylaw amendment for 16245 County Road 9 be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 10th day of March 2020. Moved by Councilor Bencham. Sorry. Seconder, Councilor Gilnap. Discussion. I have to make a comment. Anytime we have the past mayor here, nobody speaks, so. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the council receives the report from the county CAO regarding the position of county planner. So moved by Councilor Douglas, seconder, Councilor Bencham. So I think we've all read the report, and this is essentially, we had a gentleman that had agreed at the county level that was going to take it on. He's now reconsidered that, and we're going to try and continue on using Mr. Hicks and his resources. So, Councilor Bencham.
Yeah, and I think counties is using Paul Hicks as well, and I guess I would just want to verify his capacity to do work. And this is an observation, not a criticism on him, but it took 3 or 4 months for the CIP recipients to be informed of the fact that they had been approved, some of them anyhow, to inform that they had been approved and receive or work on their contract being done so they can receive their money. So my fear is that if he's over capacity, I know he has Jesse as well on the side, is there so much work coming at him that he'll be able to handle the work that we're giving him?
I'd just like to comment that a lot of the stuff, with the experienced staff in the office, a lot of that smaller paperwork sort of thing can be done in-house.
Okay.
For example, like the notices and all of that for zoning and all of that, that can be done in-house. You know, if he submits his report, we can do the rest.
Okay.
So it helps a lot.
Okay, beautiful.
I think Deputy Mayor Laundrie can add that as well.
So for those who aren't aware, so that the intent was the counties were applying for or posted a job for filling their planners section, which I think they went to 4 takes, so it's been a struggle. The intent was for them to hire, which they had found the right candidate, and possibly 2 weeks after, he retracted his position and stayed, I think, believe it, where he was. The intent was the township of North Stormont was gonna join with the counties and basically utilize the same planner. Not with Paul. Paul is sort of acting on her behalf part-time, but he's also the same with the counties. What I would suggest, and I brought it up briefly, but like Mary's mentioned, to go in-house, have somebody that's in the office, because a lot of time our residents are coming, whether you want a severance, it's just to pick up a severance application. It's not science. If we go in depth, we will have Paul to help us with the planning matters, but a lot of times to have a person, when they come in, to be able to sit down, get help filling out an application, get basically what the application requires. So that's something I think that we could potentially work in sort of a junior planner role, and still utilizes Paul on the necessary basis to fill out the real basic planning needs. So that's what we'll
Any further comments? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council receives the report from the CEO, Craig Calder, regarding Farm 911, the Emily project. Moved by Councilor Mention, seconder, Deputy Laundry. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Emily project, this is the 911 equivalent to non-residence farm locations. So, it's come about by a very unfortunate event, and it's been championed by the Federation, I believe. I hope that's accurate. Craig's report is in our document, so. Sorry, Councilor,
I was the one that asked for this to be an agenda item because farmers are asking me what the update is, because their understanding is that the counties have given April 1st as a date of implementation. So we're March 10th now, and my concern is that the Emily project here in North Stormont is probably not going to be in place by April 1st for all farmers here. That's my guess because of the time frame, but I could be completely wrong.
Craig.
Through the chair. This has been heavily discussed with both fire services and our chief building official. They're well aware of the timeframes and the April 1st deadline that not just North Stormont, but all of our townships have committed to. We will have a report at council on the 24th as for Andre. We will have the report and details of how we're going to provide this voluntary signage to any farmer who wishes it. So yes, that will be in place for April 1st.
So voluntary signage, does that just mean a civic number at the end of that farmer's property?
Well, each parcel can solicit or obtain, and perhaps Mayor Wood can provide further details, but each parcel can have that has an entryway, will have a blade sign to avoid this tragic occurrence from happening again, or hopefully. Yes, but it's a voluntary process, or a voluntary program.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Township of North Stormont joins in supporting numerous Ontario municipalities in support of Bill 156, Security from Trespass and Protecting Food Safety Act. Moved by Councilor Douglas. Seconder, Councilor Villeneuve. Is there any discussion here? Or? Yeah. All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council supports the resolution from Prince Edward County and Bracebridge requesting that federal government review the regulations regarding single-use wipes to remove the word flushable and/or ban them entirely. Can I have a mover? Maybe you? Be it resolved that council hereby supports the Township of Pustlage on the following matters: Bill 132 Aggregate Resource Act and Safe Drinking Water Act, and to petition to allow electronic delegations to provincial ministers. Sorry, mover, please. Councilor Benson, the seconder. Councilor Landry. Discussion? I don't remember what Bill 132 is. What is that?
Well, I think it's just to protect, in order to do more hydrogeological work, when approving new
Water.
stories
Okay.
and pits.
Further discussion? Councilor Douglas?
Well, the second point is about petitioning to allow electronic delegations to provincial ministers, which, so they're very different.
Yes, they are, but they come from the same municipality.
To do both on one though, kind of,
Yeah,
because I'm more
that's how we received it,
leaning
so.
towards the delegation with the ministries. I would see a big benefit in this because the cost to each municipality when you're trying to going to Toronto for a delegation when you're 15 minutes sitting in a room, so.
That's how we received it, so I can't really.
Councilor Benson?
Let me just ask you a question. So when we say that we support, if we pass this and we're supporting it, what does that cause to happen? Do we raise
Well,
it?
obviously, municipalities that ask for support, they're trying to get legislation changed or approved of some kind. So the more support they get from Ontario municipalities, the better for them.
So we will write a letter of support and address it to the ministers, the appropriate
We
ministers.
will copy, we'll follow their request, so their request will state, send it to minister such and such, and we will do so.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved, the council supports the resolution from the Eastern Ontario Health Unit to request the Ministry of Health reinstates the 25% municipal portion of the cost sharing for Board of Health programs.
The province upped it to 30%, health unit objected to that. They want it back down to 25.
Okay. So, sorry, can I have a mover?
Could you open that, letter, please?
Sorry, Steve, did you say you moved her? And the seconder? Deputy Mayor Landry? So, discussion? Councilor Benson?
I guess what I'd like to understand is how much money are we talking about if this change was to occur? I don't know what our current payment is
To the health unit?
to the health unit.
It's through the county.
Through the county.
Yeah.
So, but are they likely
It's
to
in the
charge
county levy.
it back to us as well, or?
Well, it's reflected in the county levy, so,
Okay.
the county in doing their budget takes the health unit, whatever the health unit sends them for a levy for the year, and distributes it amongst the municipalities within the county.
It's itemized back to the
Health unit,
counties?
yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know how much? Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
We have no
No.
sense of how much it is.
Significant.
Is it?
Does this appear annually with an increase, or is this because of the current health crisis that we're facing?
No, this is something that the Ontario government decided, they were making a lot of funding changes, and one of the changes they made to the health unit was to increase the cost sharing from 25% to 30% municipal. So, and the health unit objected to that, they felt it should stay down to 25%.
Craig, do you wanna add something?
No, I was just gonna echo that, being a former health unit employee, I can confirm that this is a very recent, shift in funding, and it's traditionally always been 25, 75% province.
Okay. Councilor Douglas.
Has this been to the county?
Oh, and all like,
Not
yeah.
to my,
Well,
not to
it
us.
hasn't come to council yet?
I don't believe so.
Oh.
And I got the agenda today for Monday,
Yeah.
and, but I haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Be it resolved that council approves that a letter of support be sent to Enbridge Gas to submit to the Ontario Energy Board for natural gas expansion projects potentially being proposed in the Township of North Stormont. Sure. So, this is in conjunction with the 130 million that was announced whenever we were up in Roma. Ian Ross is the gentleman that works with the lady that we met, Sonia Ferenz, and he's forwarded this and got the chance to talk to him a couple of times. So this is part of a process where Enbridge actually had his gates. So can I have a mover, please? Councilor Villeneuve, seconder. Deputy Mayor Landry. Discussion? All those in, Councilor
Sorry,
Villeneuve.
it's kind of, certainly in favor of submitting this to Enbridge, but also, the fact that, the province has opened up applications now to apply for natural gas in rural municipalities, and that application started on Friday. So we have 90 days to apply for it. Doesn't apply to this, but it's because of the subject matter. And I know we discussed it today on our strategic planning session, and Craig, you had mentioned that you hadn't received it yet, the document. So it's through Jim McAnell's office that, we were notified. So, yeah,
If I
it's,
can add to that, I asked Ian Ross, so he's our representative in the area, if we could convene a meeting at GFL, and I'm waiting on him to get back to us, because I think that we want to meet as many municipalities as possible to make sure that we do this right the first time. So I'll follow up with him to see where we're at.
but I just don't want us to miss the deadline for the application. That's all. We only have 90 days, right? So,
Yeah, I believe the application is contingent on them coming and sort of evaluating whether there's a possibility. So, but I will follow up. Discussion. Anything else? All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the mayor and the CEO clerk be authorized to sign the amended agreement for the Main Street revitalization to extend the expiry date. Moved by Deputy Mayor Landry, seconder, Councilor Densham. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. So, excuse me, this is the addition that we added to the agenda, so be it resolved that council authorizes the CAO to sign an agreement with United Counties of SD&G to have Bell fiber optic service installed in the municipal office in Berwick. Moved by Councilor Douglas. Seconder? Deputy Mayor Landry. Discussion?
We just got some context.
Craig, do you want to comment on this?
Through the chair, I was contacted, or Mary and I were contacted by our SDG IT counterparts, indicating that Bell had agreed to bring fiber optic cable to the pole just outside of the township building. I understand before I transitioned to the township that this was something that had been explored and there was a $250,000 fee attached to getting fiber here. I'm sure everybody at the table can appreciate that we were strongly urged to take advantage of this from our IT expertise, our experts. I consulted with both Andre and Blake on the costs associated because we are responsible to get the fiber from the pole to this room behind us. It would have cost us about $3,000 if we would have utilized an outside source, but Blake is going to take it upon himself, so the cost is going to be minimal to get the
So
fiber.
it was going to be $250 previously to get it to us, but now.
Allegedly, there was a significant cost, and I was quoted that amount, so.
But now that's been.
There's no cost. That cost has been, quoted.
So they're bringing it, you're saying, to the pole, is that something where our residents are like, where is it coming from? And is it something that not just the township, but local residents can tap into?
Well, this is very, very recent, and Mary was gracious enough to get it on the agenda for tonight, because we want to support our county partners. So we haven't gotten that far, quite frankly, Deputy Mayor Landry. We are going to be looking at it as we discussed at our strategic plan today. We know that we do have a certain footprint in certain areas of the township, not just for fiber, but also for gas. So we need to explore how we're going to expand that in its totality across the township, not just this township, but all the townships.
Yeah, and just for context on what we discussed during the session today, I think we want to look to see whether or not we, first of all, can use that added capability to service houses around, but also we want to look at the capacity. Like I know we say fiber, but fiber has capacity, it has so much that it can cover as well, and what the incremental cost might be to increase that capacity. I mean, some of the cost of doing that work, there'll be a foundational price of running a cable, whether that cable carries a small amount or a huge amount of capacity, may not be a big difference to the cost, especially if it can be distributed in the area. So just if we can kind of do the homework there to see whether or not another opportunity exists to not just service the building here, but all around.
As we explore, we'll certainly bring forward any developments to council for their review and consideration.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that council receives the correspondence as listed as items 14.1 to 14.15 on the agenda. Moved by Councilor Dencham. Seconder. Deputy Mayor Landry. Discussion. Councilor Douglas.
So I'm still somewhat not understanding that there seems to be resolutions inside the correspondence, but then we've dealt with a number of resolutions by motion, so,
The ones that are in correspondence, we've already dealt with.
okay.
Okay, so we've either supported or not supported, we've already dealt with that subject matter. The ones that are in resolutions are new ones that have come forward, that we haven't dealt with yet.
So that's a
That's
lot of
why.
tracking then.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's what we do.
Sure. Well, it is, that our last council did it somewhat different.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, question period reserved for the public pertaining to the subject matters discussed, and we would like especially to focus on the 2020 draft budget. And I'd like to just make a few comments that may answer a few questions that are out there before we start. So those of you that have attended these meetings regularly have heard us talk about the acronym OMPF. So this pertains to one of the sources of funding that the townships are given every year. And for a variety of reasons, none of them understood by North Stormont, ours has been decreasing at a regular clip. We're down another 86,000 this year, and it will take a 3% tax increase to balance before we do any adjustments on salary. So we've come down, don't quote me on this, Nelson, but I think we're down, Craig, did you say 43%?
I'd have to look at the statistics that I pulled together, but it was, since 2014, I think it's dropped to over 51%. But I have to confirm that with my documents from November.
So anyway, as a result of that, we understand that if these policies are consistent, that it's the intent of the government. Where I struggle personally is that we don't seem to be following the pattern of the rest of the municipalities in the area. And we've asked for an explanation as to why that is, and that was our most recent visit to Toronto. So Carly came back to council with the second draft and proposed a 5.7% increase. We've asked her to give us some alternatives, including a 3% increase for the March meeting. So there's a variety of issues here that are very positive. We're anticipating a surplus, but we're not going to name it until we've gone through the audit. And I think that's been a reflection of staff and their commitment to making sure that we follow the budget. I'd like to comment on the reserves as well. Like in 2017, we had a $3 million reserve. In 2018, it was 2.97. In 2019, it was 4.4. And last year, we were 3.5. Or sorry, we're projected this year at 3.5. As far as our debt repayment capacity, in 2020, we knocked off 32,000. 2023, there's another 53 coming off, 2024, 39, 2025, 71, and 2026, 46. So if we choose to venture, those alternatives are there for us to use as well. The wind farm building permits, which was a question, is in reserve, and it has been divided because half of it may have to be refunded pending the results of court challenge that's currently in place. But that money is in Andre's department right now, and I don't know the exact figures, north of 400,000. So there was a question in regards to the wind farm legal costs, which were in the budget, and I believe Councillor Villeneuve had that answered earlier, so that we were holding a bond, and it's there, and just a journal entry that needs to be straightened out. In the Treasury, the general loan interest, Carly explained to me today that this year's draft is simply separated by department, so it's the same amount, but it's just allocated different headings. As far as the recycling, Blake can elaborate on this if I missed anything, but the City of Cornwall has privatized this now and have gone to full cost recovery. There's an organization called East 360. And the city has just basically decided they're no longer going to subsidize this. We are legally obligated to provide this service, and Blake's done an extensive use of his resources to try and find alternatives that aren't going to be as costly. But currently, this is what we're facing, and obviously, if we make any changes, then it'll be because we've got favorable financial alternatives. The 2020 road budget is down a little bit, and as we've explained earlier, there's a lot of uncertainty now pertaining to the windmill situation, but we're in no position in that budget to be speculating as to where we're going with this. And the planning costs are down as well because we're going to continue using Paul Hicks as needed, and I think Deputy Mayor has made a very sharp suggestion that we source some of our in-house expertise to alleviate some of those bottlenecks. My parting comment on this is that GFL in particular has to be recognized by the contribution that they make for our taxes to be as low as they are. think we run neck and neck with South Stormont, and if you take a look at the waterfront out there and the economic engine it drives, GFL certainly has to be recognized for that. And I think it's also important that you understand that whenever we collect a dollar of taxes, we're only keeping 32, 33 cents on the dollar. GFL, if you took that 600,000 that we receive and had to take it through the tax base, it would be a popular topic of conversation. So my parting last comment is I'd like to thank Craig and Carly for the work that they've done. We will ratify this budget at the last meeting in March, and I think that staff has done an exceptional job to take us to where we are now. So, questions? Dave?
First one is, it has to do with the DZ, and it's, what Blake has provided to DZ as the requirements for what the township wants. And I'm surprised, what my question is why hasn't council got a list of what the demands are from our township to DZ, say for, whether it be one direction on a road, like there must be some you said you made recommendations for DZ. Why wouldn't everybody know what they are?
D square.
D square.
Yeah. Why doesn't everybody, well, we have, it's all in, concerns are all, in forms. There were.
But that's from the staff, but I'm talking from you personally for, as a representative of the township. And you're saying, okay, I've met with D square, and this is what the township would like me to do.
Well, the first step would be we will go and talk with council's subcommittee, talk to D square to see and just state some of the concerns that they already have all this literature.
Yeah, well, doesn't the township have, don't we have some concerns, like, say, all-weather road, direction of traffic on the roads, like, doesn't.
There is a comment in there about a whole route from the public.
Yeah, but I'm not talking to the public, I'm talking, when they asked you if you had been in contact, you said yes, and we have our recommendations, and I'm saying, why doesn't council know what those recommendations are? That was my question.
I say we have recommendations?
Yes.
Blake, through the chair, if I can interject, the initial comment we.
Oh, in the first part,
Right, so it was a very general.
Yes.
Response to the ministry indicating that we did have concerns regarding this application. There was no specifics in it, but we certainly did voice our concerns with any extension being granted.
Okay.
But we don't know what those, okay, I was just wondering that. So just going a quick thing to the budget here, as I read through it. I noticed that we have wage increases for roads and for the arena in the 130% range. And I'm just wondering, and nothing against the CEO, but also in the CEO as well. So I'm just wondering how come it's such a dramatic increase this year?
Sorry, Dave, give me that again. It's 130% for what?
For the arenas, for the roads. Right, like if you look at the wages for the roads department, it's gone up. Wait till I get that page. If you look at the roads, I don't know if you can get the roads on there. There it is, right? You're going from 487 and you're projected for 2020 of 643, like that's quite the increase in wages.
There's new hires?
Not
Not just that, maybe Carly explained, because last year, now we're all at zero when we're calculating as far as the compensatory pay, the benefits versus last year, that was all in there.
Yeah, but if you add that up, it still doesn't come close to, like you got the 643, the 49, or right, you had the 48, 487, 30, and 20, 30, and 31. Still only comes to about 520,000. I think you're
Right.
Am I missing something, like, anybody else see?
Just let her answer, please, Dave.
Hmm?
Just let her answer, please.
So if you notice, the budget for 2018 and 2017, this is normally how it's budgeted, all within the one line, the wage expense line. That's the budget. Now, as the actuals come in, VADM allocates it to separate GLs. So the actuals are gonna be spread over, multiple GLs. So this budget actually pertains to all of these expenses, and this is the new budget, and you'll see that under admin as well. So this budget relates to, this budget here for 2019, and then you can see 2018, the budget is, budgeted in one expense, but all the actuals are spread out.
Okay.
But Dave, we also hired a mechanic as well.
Yeah.
To take a lot of these repairs in-house, and I think that business case is in solid management.
Because I was wondering on page 4 of the, what's this one, the public works. I noticed that, like, there's no expenses for your actual values in, so that must be summarized somewhere on another line somewhere.
So again, same thing, so we're moving towards using the budget worksheets from VADM. And you can see for the 2019 budget, 0 is budgeted for all of those accounts, but yet the actuals have been posted to their separate respective GLs. So you can find the budget figure, sorry, right here. It's all allocated into one line.
Okay.
So we're still working on, trying to, provide more detail and separate those budgets, but with time constraints, we just followed suit from the years before.
Going with the public works again for the recycle.
Dave, can this be, there's some other people that want, so can you
Okay,
ask
well,
them,
just
like-
112,000 for the recycle has gone up by, you know,
I think that was the comment that I made maybe earlier in regards to this, East 360. So the bigger issue here is that if this continues, people are just gonna start going to the dump with all this because we're legislated, but the costs are prohibitive. So it's a government policy that's changing, and I think there's a lot of things up in the air right now that aren't solidified essentially, so. But if you have more questions, I'll gladly see what I can do after.
okay.
Okay,
I'll just finish on.
Councilor Douglas?
David, on the recycling, the Chinese were buying all recycled stuff, and those markets have collapsed. So for every $100 that municipalities were getting, in some cases it's down to $5. So recycling markets have been wiped out, which means that the costs are coming home.
Yeah, if you go to La Fleche and look at their garbage pile, there's a lot of townships bringing blue bags to the town for the dump. Like they don't include recycling.
Ernie?
Ernie Kumar, Finch. I'm not sure whether my question is going to pertain to the budget or the $548,000 grant that was given from the Ontario government. But over the past 2 years, I've been noticing that the sidewalks on Church Street haven't been plowed, and they were really bad this year. I did pose a question, and the question, or the answer that I got from some of the residents at the seniors home stated that the sidewalks are in such bad repair that the township does not want to keep them cleared so that they don't run into any insurance problems or legal problems. And where I'm coming from is, you've got the seniors home, and then there's a lot of new development that just happened on the west side of, east side of Finch. And these people have to travel from the seniors' residence to the post office, to the store, to the bank, using that road. And the only way they can get there is walking down the middle of the road. And it's not right, it's not safe. If it is a problem with the sidewalk, why hasn't that been corrected and made so that the elderly people that are living in the Finch Seniors Home will have a safe travel from their to and from wherever they have to go. Other than that, they have to walk all the way down to the Highway 43 and then walk along the sidewalk that way to get there safely. That's my question.
Do you mind?
Yes, it's in very bad condition. We should have posted or actually I should say we barely have enough money to do one little sidewalk project this year. That would be something that we have to take with our asset management plan to say, do we really want to have a new sidewalk placed in that vicinity? New subdivisions and higher traffic areas, they don't have sidewalks. Sidewalks are expensive for us, for the municipality. I don't know, besides that, I don't know if it's, I know the last two budgets, my sidewalk budget was cut because of finance. So that'd be up to a council decision if they want to upgrade that sidewalk, but it's not in this year's budget.
It seems to be a big waste of money that this summer you purchased a sidewalk cleaner. It drives past it by my place after every storm. So I get to see that machine going into Finch, and then after it's finished in Finch, it goes back to Berwick. But it's not doing anything. That's what we're seeing anyways. What's the sense of not purchasing an expensive piece of equipment like that when it's not going to be used to its full use?
Well, I said the sidewalk is not in good condition. Like, it has to be either budgeted to upgrade it and or abandon the sidewalk.
And
like it's a
put
little
those elderly people at risk. That's what
Oh no, it's not my decision what to.
Yeah, let's first of all see whether or not where it is in our asset.
We actually, this year we have, and very cost efficient, other municipalities have done, had an independent review of all your sidewalks at a minimum cost. So we actually have that in our maintenance budget to get a report. So it's an unbiased report from an individual who does that, and we'll be able to get that report to council when it comes in, and then that's going to be justified what we're looking at in expenses on sidewalk repairs and.
Deputy Mayor Wonder.
So, Church, I believe you're looking into that. Now, what about the sidewalk going down from the villa down 43? And how is that being maintained?
Yes.
And
There is no sidewalk there.
Not on Nelson Street.
No, not on Nelson. I'm talking on 43.
Yeah.
So from the villa,
Yeah.
if they want to go to the post office, is that the 43 being, or the sidewalk being
Yes.
cleared?
But they still have to walk down the middle of the road to get to 43.
Phil? So no,
Well, I
that's,
think your point's taken, okay, Ernie, and,
Thank you very much.
okay. I'll take one more question, please, and then we're gonna go to, is this something that we need to do, can we talk after, or is it something you wanna bring up? Okay.
Yeah, I was under the understanding we were gonna spend quite a bit of time on the budget, so is it not the case now?
Well, I guess I thought we were spending quite a bit of time, so please go ahead.
Okay, well, no, I'm, first of all, Carly, this is like 1,000% better than last year, so congratulations on the direction you're taking this to. Mr. Mayor, I'm really concerned about the modernization of money. My understanding is, looking at the details here, is that every 1% increase in taxes amounts to about $28,000. So we've taken $280,000 out of modernization funding, which would be, if we didn't take that out, and you still want all this, the wish list here, you put an additional 9% increase. I can see the huge challenge you have, okay? But the $280,000 that you took out of the modernization, I sat in on every minute of the strategic planning meetings, and the first $7,500 was passed by a motion or agreed to at the council here to pay for the strategic plan. That was my understanding, that the first $7,500 of that 548 would come out of the strategic plan. I don't know if you got an invoice for that or not, I'm not sure. But at no point in the strategic plan meetings did they talk about a salt dome or a new computer system or a website here. Everybody was interested in natural gas or high-speed internet. That was by far the highest, the most, economic development was in there as well, plus transparency and accountability. So I think the opportunity that you have right now with this recent announcement of the millions of dollars to help put natural gas in is something you can't skimp on. I would rather see the salt dome come out of public works reserves. You've got a waste management study, you're getting $600,000 from GFL. Can they not get $10,000 of that for the waste management study? And the line that really catches me on the budget is admin wages 1050 to 1050-1000. I call that line by night. And that every year since 2017, the actuals come in about $100,000 less than what was budgeted for. So I'm saying, why not take the new IT, the new website? There's a number of things on there that take that out of that money and leave as much of the 280 in as you possibly can. Because if you can get that application put in for natural gas through Longbridge, it's going to be fantastic for this township. First of all, you can probably see that you'll have natural gas in Avonmore, natural gas in Moose Creek, in Monkland, and the line could possibly go on with an agreement to go right through to Alexandria, who also has natural gas. This is going to save farmers, and it's going to save the general public of residents hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So I would, if I had a suggestion to you, I would revisit that line on the modernization money, leave as much of it in there as you possibly can. You only got about 90 days anyways before that application comes in. By the way, I've been bugging some people at Queen's Park and Marilyn and Jimmy Mack and those guys on this as well. So we've got quite a bit of background on it. But the thing is, like, this is an opportunity that might not come along again. And if you could get that, if you could ever get natural gas into those areas, you're going to save the taxpayers a lot of money. And you're probably going to need $300,000 or $400,000 to start, because there will be a township share, and as people connect to the lines, connect to the actual services, there will be some cost to a number of those people as well. But the savings in the end would be, in some case, I think it said $2,500 a house. So it would be good for your taxpayers, and I think it's a wonderful use of the modernization money. And if it doesn't go, then go back later in the year and build this, take the money out of the modernization fund and build a salt dome. That's my so-called presentation. I'll have more to say at the next meeting, but this, I really believe that that application for the natural gas is something we can't turn back on. We've got to go hard on it, we've got to go hard on it right now.
Well, I don't think we have any intention of turning our back on it. We've actually been working on this for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And we got as far as the OEB 3 years ago with a different government, and we landed flat, and now it appears that this 130 million is actually focused for indigenous and rural areas, and you're right, it is gaining traction. So appreciate your comments, and we'll certainly keep it publicized as far as going forward.
Mr. Mayor, you know full well the opportunities with the methane gas and the opportunities at GFL as well. This is a win-win for everyone. And
Yeah.
I think the next 90 days is critical to this township if they can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last comment, Mayor.
Yeah, so just a couple of points, I'll try to be brief. The strategic plan I saw my input was on the folder, was on the agenda. My understanding is that was not supposed to be published until the consultant had issued his plan, so has it been?
The plan's not done.
Nope, okay, so that's something done, because I was also including some of the modernization suggestions. Nationwide, I mean, we raised it before, that it's not supposed to be an EDPR report, and disappointed to find out that despite, a number of iterations, it's came up again, only.
Question, please.
Well, the question is, can we go back to the original intent, or would you prefer that I send it out again, because I have it again? What the
Sorry,
original
I'm
intent.
missing something.
Like I did distribute to Mayor Lee and all council what the intent of the nationwide report was that we'd agreed, and based on the questions that we saw from council and everybody else, obviously the public wants and council has questions and there's activity going on, so why don't we put them in?
Okay. Just for context, Rainer would like to see the municipality express an opinion for each Nation Rise report. And I don't think we should be expressing opinions.
Well, not expressing an opinion, the activities that have gone on, so, there's.
But
it
there
was
aren't any
mentioned that,
activities, Rainer.
There's been contact, and various things.
That's, the only contact was what we received this morning.
But again, it's what we know, are there roads issues that might be out there, whatever, right? It's what's the status from a township perspective, not
But
from.
when there's
our
something to
perspective.
report, it comes to council, you know that.
And so, I'll leave it at that, that's for consideration out there, that was the original intent, it was not meant to be needed report. And on the budget, I'm not gonna ask any questions about it, I have some, but what I am going to ask is, you mentioned that there's options, can the public get a copy of those options before the March 24th?
It'll be tabled on the 24th, and that'll be a public meeting, is that not accurate?
So, you don't want me standing up here for an hour on March 24th, so I have a lot of questions. I think it was suggested I could go direct to Carly with some of them, whatever is that sort of recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Question period reserved to council members pertaining to subject matters discussed on the agenda. Councilor Miller.
I do for Blake, just in reference to Ernie's comment around the sidewalk on Church Street and Finch. I know what he's referring to, because I've got the same comment, from the retirement, the people that live in the retirement home there. One comment was that the sidewalk snow removal was never done, but if it was done and a resident fell on that sidewalk, that we would be liable. So is that why it's not being cleaned?
The original intent when we started cleaning sidewalks was we proposed various sidewalks to be cleaned, and that what we've been going, following. There is sidewalk in Agmore that's not being cleaned. Moose Creek. Moose Creek's all clean. Chrysler's all clean. But there was original for the high traffic areas on county roads that was basically proposed to council to maintain those sidewalks in the winter time, and like I said, the sidewalk isn't in good condition, and with the last few budgets, we haven't had, when I proposed this, maybe even before this recent council, that with the restraints, we have been investing in replacing sidewalks. So, we, a little bit this year, but the last few years, we haven't done any sidewalk upgrades. So, I mean, that's the council wishes, they want to maintain all the sidewalks, but they have to be upgraded to maintain them.
Right, but the question is, if you were to clean those sidewalks, and I'll say a resident from the retirement home fell, are we then liable? Like that's what the discussion was around, that if they were cleaned, we would be liable, but we're not cleaning them, and they walk down the middle of the street.
Well, when I said they're in bad condition, they were overgrown, they were uneven, the cracks, the heaves in them, and it's basically, it wouldn't be a good condition in winter conditions to walk on uneven sidewalks and deteriorated sidewalks. So, we just, in theory, we should have had closed, we should just put closed on it, and not take our liability away. But until we,
Well, when it comes to liability,
yeah,
okay, municipal liability is one of the highest, I think, than any other liability claims. And regardless of whether or not they fall on the sidewalk or on the street,
yeah.
the township's gonna get sued, no matter what. So yes, there's a liability for everything that is municipal, including the sidewalks and the roads. So, yeah, we would be liable, for sure we would be, if somebody decided to sue. You know, it would depend on the courts how much liable.
But we went through the situation with Monkland, and Dennis, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we put a rimple strip down and paved it so that the snowplows could pick it all up. And I haven't heard any issues, so maybe there's solutions out there that are outside of the box that we can take a look at as well, so. But everybody's aware of what's going on, and I mean, there's a list of places we could be pouring money, and I don't mean to diminish the importance of this, but it's on the list of things that need to be tended to, and there's one taxpayer, so. Okay, where was I? Okay, be it resolved that this meeting adjourned to a closed session for the following reasons: personal matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Moved by Councilor Douglas, seconded by Councilor Dench.